Hey guys, Filthy Robot here, doing another guides, tips, and tricks video, this time talking about a new game I've become interested in called Tactical Genius. Tactical Genius is a turn-based strategy game, multiplayer only, currently offering 1v1s, ranged 2v2s, and random 2v2s. This game is a free-to-play game available on Steam and is not region locked, so you can play with anyone. The pay system it uses, how it makes any money for the developers, is it uses a gold system, which is it unlocks, you start with 3 character classes unlocked, and then there are 3 more potential character classes you can get a hold of. You can unlock those with gold. You earn gold by making wins, or also to a lesser degree by losing. Just you basically earn gold by playing games, or you can directly purchase gold if you do not wish to farm the gold through gameplay. This is the same type of pay-to-play. Well, it's not really pay to play. It's the same type of model for making money that things like really major games like Heroes of the Storm, to a lesser degree Hearthstone, or League of Legends use, right? That type of mechanic where some of the content's available, but not all of it. All right, let's talk a little bit about how the game works. It is deliberately designed to do away with things like first move or latency issues. And how it does that is it uses an initiative system. Each type of unit that you summon has a different amount of initiative. And as the unit takes damage, it loses initiative. It's not permanent loss. As the unit's damaged, its initiative is reduced by a percentage as well. As it heals, its initiative goes back up. And different types of units have different types of initiative. And what this means is that units with higher initiative go sooner in the turn order. And what happens is each player has a communal turn. So each of the players assigns their units to do actions at the same time together. And then when you're done, that's the turn-based element of it. That's kind of a pause turn as you assign orders. And then each of you ends your turn and those orders are resolved. And the orders are resolved in order of initiative. So the units that have higher initiative, their actions go off first. All right, let me demonstrate this. You ready to go?
Yes, Fithy.
Hit play. All right, setting up a game with Cork here. Uh-oh, did you get a game without me?
No, I'm still in queue.
Okay, perhaps it will just take a second. So setting up a game, I want to demonstrate some of the combat. I want to talk a little bit how you win the game and other stuff like that. There it goes. Perfect, just took a second. Alright, first things first, this is how you see who your opponent is. Their rating is right there. The ratings don't actually seem to mean too much. You seem to get points pretty regularly when you win. It doesn't seem to be like 100 wins for a point or something. So this difference probably doesn't mean as much as it looks. And this is the chat interface, where you can chat to your opponent. In 2v2, the default chat interface is to your ally, and I don't think you can talk to your opponents at all. In 1v1, the default is, of course, to your opponent. You start with 1 fort captured. This is your capital fort. It's slightly different than other forts. It takes longer for the enemies to capture, but other than that, it's identical to other forts. Forts, well, we'll talk about terrain in just a moment. So let's talk about units and reinforcing. The first thing is this guy, the helm here, represents how many units you currently control. The fort represents how many forts you control, and the hourglass represents how many more turns it's going to be before you can reinforce. What this means right now is 0 more turns before I can reinforce. It means I can reinforce a unit this turn, which I want to do. I'm going to grab an archer. And the number of forts dictates how many units you have. So it's essentially supply. You can have 1 unit per fort. All right. So this was that first turn. So this is, again, where we're at right now is the communal turn. And what this means is that we have 2 minutes, it's 2 minutes simultaneously in which to issue orders, but the orders don't actually happen until the turn is finished. So he purchased a warrior. A warrior is a melee unit with 100 initiative. You can check the values on enemy units just by clicking on them. You can also see what skills he's trained. He hasn't assigned any of his skills quite yet. I go first this round. I have you can see that it's denoted by the 1 here and the 2 there. This is the order in which the units will take their turn when that turn starts. I go first because I have 300 initiative, he only has 100, so we're quite a bit higher in initiative. We're going to go and start to capture a fort, and how we do this is we just right-click where we want our unit to go, move. If we want to change that before we end the turn, we hit reset. And let's say I want it to go here, I can make it go there, reset, go there, and the hotkey for that is Q. Once you hit end turn here, though, you can't change your actions, even if your opponent is still thinking about it. So that's what will happen. All right, so we click next, click end turn, and our units, that one resolves, and then this one resolves. Okay, the turn order is not going to change for us here because our guy has higher initiative. So we're always going to go first versus this guy unless we take a lot of damage and our initiative drops below 100, which is his initiative. So I'm just going to capture this fort and then kind of move towards the middle. The early game is about securing territory or potentially preventing your opponent from securing territory, depending on what type of strategy you're going for. Let's talk a little bit about terrain. There are basically 4 types of terrain. There's default terrain, which really does nothing. These are plains or grasslands, the green or the brown pretty much. And these terrain, there's just neutral modifiers. Anyone fighting in the terrain, there's just neutral modifiers, nothing changes. Fighting in a hill, you have a advantage when you're in a hill. Yeah, I believe it's a defensive advantage only, but perhaps it's both. I'm not entirely sure. But it's, I believe, a 20% advantage when you're in a hill. If you're in a fort, there's 3 classes of forts. There are neutral forts, which basically just count as plains tiles. There's no bonuses to being in a neutral fort. There's forts you control, which are a 50% damage bonus, a 50% defense bonus, and a 50% experience bonus when you use regular but not special attacks outside of one of your forts. And it doesn't count as your fort until it's completed capturing. So right now, this is a neutral fort, even though I'm capturing it in the next 3 turns. And then there's enemy forts, and enemy forts are also, if you're in an enemy fort, it's just like being in a normal terrain. Forests also provide a bonus for being in. It's a larger bonus than a larger bonus than hills, and I think either equal to or slightly less than the bonus by forts. And deserts have a penalty. It's a negative modifier to being in that. I think a desert hill counts as a hill and not a desert, but I'm not entirely sure on that. I'm not sure why there's a visual for a desert there, considering I think it just counts as a hill tile. All right, so we're still capturing forts. Looking for some combat. I want to demonstrate some kind of unique elements of combat. There is line of sight in this game. Hills and forests block line of sight. So I can't, for example, if I were on if I was on this green tile here, this grassland tile, and I wanted to shoot that tile, I would be unable to because the forest would block that. And the same in this position here. You can shoot instead of moving, for example. And if you look, this is where I could shoot, or there, but I could not shoot to this desert tile because the hill or the forest blocks the shot. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about skill usage. You have each of your characters starts with 3 skills it can train. There's no unlocking skills. At least the initial 3 anyways, and 1 ultimate. The ultimate can only be trained at level 5. You can level up any of the skills as you want. You don't have to do like 1 of each or a certain number before you do it. You could put all the points in Splash Arrow, for example, if you wanted to. I'm just going to move over and take a shot. There's no real reason to do this besides the fact I can, and I want to demonstrate it, so we're going to walk over and shoot that guy. And Splash Arrow is an AoE attack. Okay. How do you win the game? You take your opponent's capital, and actually, that's kind of cool. I must have fucked that up because I didn't actually get my shot off. I was expecting my shot to go off. But let's shoot him. And you just left click what you want to do skill wise, and then right click where you want it to happen. So we'll move again. I could reinforce this turn in the sense that I have a reinforcement, but I didn't have enough supply to reinforce this turn because I hadn't finished capturing this fort. So there you go. I launched my fire arrow at him. I'm going to go start moving to his capital to demonstrate capturing, and or I can do it right here. I'll capture this one, right? So this will become his fort in 1 turn, but it's not his fort quite yet. You can only reinforce out of your own forts. You can't reinforce out of neutral forts. So this turn I have enough supply and I have the availability of reinforcements, so I'm going to reinforce. If you lose a unit, you have to reinforce. You can reinforce that unit with the experience it had, or you can reinforce a new unit, but it still counts towards your supply cap. So losing units and counts towards your turn timer for resupplying them. So losing units is kind of a big deal because if you lose 1 unit and they don't, by the time the 3rd round of reinforcements comes out, they'll have 3 guys and you'll only be able to revive your guy and have 2 guys. All right, I'm going to train a mage because I want to demonstrate one of the things that mages do. Okay. So we're both kind of set up to counter capture. I've stopped his capturing this fort, so it's back to a neutral fort, and now it's 3 turns until it's bind. This one actually converted to my fort. If he starts to capture it, I'll have 3 turns to retake it. When it's not neutral, it will just come back to mine. You can see the turn order. The mage has a 75%, 75 initiative as opposed to the 100 of the warrior, or 93 because he's wounded. 300 for my archer and 200 for his assassin. You can see the skills the opponents have selected by clicking on them. He hasn't selected any skills. All right. Can you go ahead and demonstrate for the video the melee attacking into an archer. My archer will be on the desert tile, 2 tiles to your northeast.
I just finished my turn.
Okay, next turn then.
Yes.
Perfect. Alright, I want to demonstrate 2 things. Normal ranged units are blocked by line of sight, but there's 2 mages in the game at the moment. There's a fire mage and a necro mage, and mages are a little bit different where they're able to attack and cast spells too. Alright, so I'm going to stay here. This is a dangerous tile to be on.
The bash, you mean?
Say again?
The shield bash?
Nope, just a normal attack on him, please. The mage. It will have to be the mage. So not this turn, but next turn. I'll move him to the green tile northeast of the fort. And next turn, you attack him normally. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'll just shoot him again. We're gaining experience every time we attack. You gain increased experience shooting out of forts, and your characters continue to level. I'm just going to move to here with my pyro for a moment. We'll see in a second. Okay. Let's move there. I'm going to give the order for my mage to move to this hill. Actually, even better yet, let's move to this forest there. And the turn order is going to be my archer, followed by his assassin. His assassin has picked up an invisibility promotion, and then his warrior, and then my mage there. You can't move through your own units. And you can't move through enemy units. If you try to move through your own unit, you'll lose your turn. So he's attacked me, and what happens when a melee attacks a ranged is the ranged is forced into counterattacking. And when he counterattacks, it can't do other actions. So this is kind of like a semi-stun. It will hold units in place. Excuse me. And what has happened there is I've tried to move away, but he's attacked me first. All right, that's fine. Just leave your guys where they are for now. I want to demonstrate something else. Actually, I want to demonstrate the mages. Don't worry about it. So the mage actually can attack. He's not blocked by line of sight, so a mage can actually attack over these hills, over these trees, even though an archer would be unable to. I can't attack from this archer to that tile, even though the mage can. And there's 2 mage classes that can do that. It's something interesting that I've discovered. Using a warrior skill, can you use the slash attack on my mage with your warrior this turn, please? Cork.
Hit the mage with slash attack. Okay.
Perfect. So, using a special attack doesn't stun lock in the same way. So he's going to special attack me this turn, and I'm going to try to move away, and it should successfully move away. All right. We've already demonstrated how to capture someone else's forts, and let's talk about capturing the capital because it's slightly different. Okay, that's his special attack. It's a spell, it's on a cooldown, and because he special attacked me instead of normal melee attacking me, I'm actually able to take my turn because units don't counterattack versus special attack. So it is a way to do damage to an enemy without getting hit back, but at the same time it also allows ranged units to actually flee from that. So let's go capture this capital here in a moment. We'll demonstrate that. And oh, I should talk about healing. Units heal at 10 hit points per turn so long as they did not themselves attack or do an action, and I believe that counts counterattacks as well. So if you get hit, let's say a ranged unit is shooting you as you're running away, that's not going to prevent you from healing that turn. However, if you're attacked by a melee unit and you counterattack, that will prevent you from healing that turn, or if you cast a spell, or if you use a regular attack. The other thing is as units take damage, not only does their initiative drop, but so does their damage. So this unit right now is quite wounded, number 4 over here, and you can see his initiative is only 21 out of 75, and his damage is only 8 out of 30. So it's kind of important to keep your units at high health if you want them doing full damage. Let's see. What else do we want to show? If you can move that assassin out next turn, I want to capture the capital. So we already talked range, or talked about capturing. So how do you win the game? You capture the capital. The capital takes 8. I believe it's 8, but it might be 7 instead of a 3 from that. What else do we need to go over here? I think I've mentioned that forts have a bonus here. So you can see right here, he has a 50% bonus on attack and a 50% bonus on defense being in that fort, and he also generates additional experience. If he uses a spell out of the fort, he does not gain the additional experience that he would gain normally. I think that is pretty close to it.
Warrior?
I'm sorry, could you say again?
And my warrior?
Anything you
You
want.
want me to show the bash?
Yeah, sure. He's just going to use a different skill. He's got a promotion. He has a stun skill. The way the stun skill works, it's sometimes a little counterintuitive, but let's talk about how it works. Once you get it, it's pretty clear, but it took me a while to get it. It depends on the turn. So he just stunned me, and I'm not stunned at the start of this turn. I could actually move away. And why that is if he stuns you before your action on your turn, then you're stunned, you lose that turn's action. If he stuns you after your action on that turn, you lose the next turn's action. So if I were to go first and he still got that stun off, then I would lose my next turn instead of the current turn. All right, let's move into the capital and demonstrate the capture for that. I could reinforce this turn if I had more forts, but I haven't been good about taking forts, which means I'm supply blocked. He is not supply blocked. He moved to his 3rd unit last turn, and he still has 5 forts, so he could hypothetically reinforce 2 more times, although it would take him a couple turns to do so. All right. Some units have active abilities that trigger on death. These abilities currently are map-wide, so the Necromage summons a skeleton every time an enemy unit dies on the map while he has that ability. What else? Okay. All right. So this will take 7 turns to capture instead of the 3 of the other ones. I win the game when I capture that, so one of the strategies can be killing enemy units, one can be taking their forts so they can't reinforce and you can reinforce more so you eventually win wars. One of them can be trying to sneak around the back and capturing their capital and holding it, other things like that. It's actually deceptively complex, this game. There's a lot of strategy to it so far that I've played. Actually, I guess it would be a lot of tactics to it because it's a lot of individual kind of in the moment decisions being made that can really play into this. And it's really quite fun. I think you guys should definitely, if you get a moment, check it out. It's free to play. Try it out. The actual first 2 units, the warrior and the archer and the mage, are actually fairly competitive. So there will definitely be different strategies available to players with different character classes, but I don't actually think you're in too much of a disadvantage or even a disadvantage using just those basic classes. You still see lots and lots of warriors and archers from players who have all of the different classes because they're so strong and have such high initiative, particularly the archer or the warrior who's so tanky and does a lot of damage. Anyways, guys, I want to keep this relatively short. Hopefully you enjoyed the tips and tricks video here talking about this new game, and hopefully you'll go check it out and maybe we'll get a game at some point. So again, thank you very much for watching. Check out the game, and if you enjoyed it, check out the rest of my content, and Fithy out. I'll see you guys later.